Before you do that, I'm going to back over there.
You good? Go. Cool. Hi, I'm Cam Buchanan, penetration tester. I'm wearing the headbands because Robin made me and I did Tough Mudder at the weekend. I'm not injured. That's why I'm wearing them. I'm going to be talking to you about the mobile attack landscape, and it's kind of like a high-level overview of mobile testing. If you've not done any mobile testing before, this would probably be quite useful for you. If you have done mobile testing before, this is probably going to be incredibly boring and you're going to heckle me like hell. So on the screen here, I've got laser pointer so I can do it. We have phones, we have routers, we have the internet, and we have the intranet, so corporate intranet. The scenario that I'm working on here is that you have access to a corporate phone that has privileged access to the intranet. Ta-da! Forgive the alignment there. I don't know what happened. Cool. So if we look at phones, personal devices. People carry around phones, tablets, small laptops, and they have a lot of crap going on with them. They have a lot of data on them, that kind of stuff. And there are a lot of different issues that are associated with these devices. So let's say you've lost your device. Okay, you lose your phone, you dropped it in the park, and somebody picks it up. Personal phone, big whoop, whatever. BYD says otherwise. BYD is obviously the up-and-coming way of solving mobile solutions for companies. You have both your personal stuff and your corporate stuff on a phone. You lose the phone, you've lost corporate data. Big issue. How do you solve that problem? A compromised device. You're downloading maybe applications, maybe a bit of porn every now and then on your BYD device, and viruses happen. They're out there in the wild. You see them a lot on Android. See a few here and there on iOS. You see the Pokemon the GBA emulator that's just come out on iPhones, circumventing the iOS, the iStore's permissions model. You know, it's possible to get around it. It's possible to get data that shouldn't be on phones. And vulnerable services. Phones, you download your applications to do whatever, and they open up all kinds of crap all over the place. So what are the issues associated with that? Broadcasting leakage is the really big one. So everybody thinks, okay, an iPhone is a fairly secure product. If you put it on a network, it's got a reasonable number of services running, and you get SSH, you've got various other things. That's not the massive issue. The massive issue is the various different adapters that run on the phone. So when we say broadcasting leakage, we can go probe requests. So I'm sure most of you are aware, but Wi-Fi devices are constantly looking out for the networks they've previously connected to. You can record that data. The Snoopy guys put together some great tools for doing that, but if you don't want to go and deploy on a Raspberry Pi or all the crazy stuff they do, there's just something called iSniff. It's a great tool. It runs straight out of the box. You put it on any device, any laptop, with an adapter. And you can listen to all the devices in the area where they've been and start to correlate that data with locations. So if you use something like Wiggle, you can say, okay, this is the SSID name. Where has this SSID been detected before? GPS location, work out where somebody lives, work out where they work. You can start to build up a profile of somebody just by being in the right area. I was working in a corporate location this week. I left it running for about half an hour and forgot it was there and came back, and it picked up 1,500 devices looking for somewhere in the region of 3,500 networks. I would estimate, with Wiggle being sort of volunteer run, you could probably geolocate about half of those. When you've got another example is when we went to a different corporation and people had named their networks after their own names. So we could say, okay, you're John Doe. Is there any John Does in the room? Oh yeah, I'm John Doe. Right, do you live here? Yes, I live here. And you work here? Yes. So we can follow you home. That's quite scary for some people, and I think it's quite scary from a privacy perspective. We look at Bluetooth. Most security people don't use Bluetooth, and I think that's fairly sensible, but out there in the wild, normal people use Bluetooth. We aren't normal people, I guess. You get yourself something like the Ubertooth from Hack5, and you can start to do exactly the same thing with the probe requests as you did. Exactly with Bluetooth as you did on the probe request, and start to see what people have connected to. You can start snooping on their pairing, and you can actually do a great deal of attacks on Bluetooth even now. They have improved it. It gets better over time, but obviously with improvements, there's more holes, and more holes means more fun for us. And NFC, we all know about Charlie Miller doing his crazy stuff. It's a big area that's being opened into now. Everybody wants to use it, sort of contactless payments, that kind of stuff. There are a lot of attacks that you can throw at that. The stack, I think, has been fixed, but it's only temporarily been fixed. I'm getting some smiles from Tim, which means it's not fixed, because Tim knows all. So how can we solve these problems? How can we mitigate the fact that the device you're carrying around in the pocket is telling everybody where you've been, what you connect to, and potentially like the payments you've done like that? Well, there's a lot of work going into secure Android builds or secure phone builds. So the black phone is a good example. User awareness training, so training individuals, if you're a corporation, to not leave their Wi-Fi on the phone, not leave Bluetooth on the phone, just strolling around when it's not connected to things. Work on that. Antivirus of phones. A lot of examples out there now. People are pushing in that direction, but is it working? Has anybody seen any working examples? Currently, I would say that it's catching the obvious examples which Google Play Store are catching, which the iOS guys already boot out. So, is it actually working? Is it heuristic? Is it just a simple, oh, it matches this this signature, therefore it's dodgy, don't download it? And yell at your providers. Create some need for security from the creators of these devices. Like, if the iPhone continues to sell, then why do they care about security? If Apple continues to sell devices, they're not going to care if us as the small people in the room are going to get upset because it's dodgy, until something big happens and people get really upset about it. And everybody's mentioning Heartbleed today, but Heartbleed is an excellent example of there being a great uproar, people getting very upset about something, and it getting fixed really quickly because it had that motivation behind it, because it was interesting. So I don't know, get some more graphic designers involved in pen testing, get some more logos, make a couple more websites. Routers. So routers is a bit of an odd one, really. A lot of people don't think of routers as sort of normal PCs to attack. That just that sort of piece of kit over there that sits there and allows you to connect to the internet, and that's fine. But routers can be compromised, and I've put them in the wrong order here. But so the Chameleon attack that came out this year, I think, got a lot more media attention in the wrong way than it deserved. It said, oh, this is the new kind of virus. It goes like a human virus. It spreads over the air. It's pretty scary. If it was a specific kind of router, if you manage to bring specific kinds of routers into similar areas to compromise devices to get to the same kind of routers around the world, it would spread like a virus. What was interesting was that it created a situation where you could put something on a mobile device and take over their router and get at everybody else's data. It's that secondary step, not the compromise, not the spread, that kind of thing. That relies on every router being available to that attack. What was interesting was that you could have something on a mobile phone that could get onto the router and compromise the data that's on it. You could sniff all the traffic going through it. Instead of having to man in the middle somebody, you already took over the router. It's an instant man in the middle. And of course, other users on routers. When you're connecting to your coffee shop Wi-Fi, that kind of stuff, other people can potentially see your traffic because Wi-Fi isn't totally secure. So router compromise. What can you do once you got it? So either going after a router or creating a rogue AP, so rogue network that takes advantage of that probe request I mentioned earlier. What can you do with it? You force somebody to connect to a network, or they compromised a router that's hosting a network you're connected to. What can you do? Obviously, you can sniff HTTP credentials, stuff in plain text. That's really simple. You can DNS spoof people onto going from regular correct IP address associated with URLs to your own ones. That's pretty straightforward to do now as well. SSL stripping didn't work for quite a while. There was a sort of break in the development of that tool. With the new Pineapple, it works like a dream. It's absolutely amazing, and there's some really upsetting people that are vulnerable to it. I'm not going to name names because I'm on camera. And malware injection, we had some great work, again, with the Pineapple using captive portal setups to push malicious APKs onto Android devices really easily just by a very basic social engineering attack. I'm going to speed up quite a lot now. So how can we mitigate these issues? Well, you can use a VPN. You can just skirt straight through the router issue altogether. Everything's encrypted. Great. If you're a corporation, then you can do proper patching on your routers and keep them up to date. I mean, that's going to mitigate some of the issue, but not all of it. And if you're an individual, again, you're going to see a theme here. Yell at your provider. Yell at the people that are doing the network security for you. If they're not doing it properly, then you need to make sure they do. If you get upset about things and make noise, people eventually take notice. The internet. You're not really worried too much about me or him or you sort of finding stuff on the internet that's going over, but you are worried about state surveillance, and if you're not worried about state surveillance, you really should be. Or working in a hostile environment, a lot of us do work going overseas and that kind of stuff, going into countries where they do just sort of intercept data as a matter of course. If you're just connecting straight back to your corporation's websites and everything like that in the clear text, then you've got a serious problem on your hand, and it's VPNs for you. State surveillance, hostile environments, as I said there. State control of infrastructure. In the UK, obviously, you've got Echelon. In France, you've got Frenchelon. That's one of my favourite backers there. Overt and covert control of the infrastructure. We already all know that it goes through surveillance kit, but there are other things going on that we don't know about, and there's always things hinting about it in the leaks. How do we mitigate against this? Oh, look, it's a VPN again. You couldn't possibly work out that work for a company that sells VPNs. Don't use a phone. You know, go back to using a Nokia. Do you really need internet on your phone? Move to Sweden. Sweden's a nice place. More privacy concern over there. And if the worst comes to worst, cry deeply. Someone might take pity on you, and you can yell at your provider whilst you're crying. Finally, the intranet. So this is what the end goal is, and it's less of sort of like vulnerabilities here, more of what happens, and a bit of focus on mitigations. VPN endpoints. So if you are using a VPN all the way through this, you can go straight into the network in a lot of cases, and they're not using proper landing zones. And yes, pivoting power. I'll just explain that now. If you're not using a proper landing zone, so when you VPN in, you've got access to everything on the internet, and somebody picks up that phone and gets through the locking mechanism, they can potentially, or in numerous cases, especially with Windows phones, use those as a direct proxy to get straight into your network. So people are carrying around tiny little proxies. You can hook the PC up to it, and you've got a full pen test. It's a standard methodology. It's game over. Whatever you've got on there, everybody's got vulnerabilities on their internal network, and anybody who says they don't is lying. Mitigations for that, proper landing zones. Secondary authentication, yeah, okay, you VPN'd in, you've got the right certs on the device, but secondary authentication, to access the privileged stuff on there, you need to basically compromise both the phone and the person's account. And restricted intranet access. So, you know, do you really need access to absolutely everything? Maybe you just need access to the mail server in a limited kind of way. That was a quick run through because I ran quite slowly at the beginning. Are there any questions?
No.
Excellent, stunned silence.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.